Before the noise can reach my name, before the hours start, a quiet leans against the window and settles in my heart. A cup still holds a trace of heat. I almost passed it by. The table wears the morning in a soft and faded light. The curtain lifts just slightly, like it's been here all along. And nothing in this early hour is trying to be strong. The room stays gently open, no edges left to prove. All the scattered pieces begin to slowly move. Morning light on the table, finding what is here. Nothing turned to something else, just simple, bright and clear. It rests on every small thing that yesterday made hard, and leaves a quiet kindness right where we are. Some days arrive unfinished with threads I couldn't tie. A list left in the kitchen, a thought that slipped my mind. The clock begins its rhythm, the walls begin to wake, but something in this stillness refuses me to shake. A page lies open halfway, a story waiting there, and even in the silence there's something like repair. The air moves slow around me, no signal, no demand, as if this quiet morning already understands. Morning light on the table, falling where it will, touching all the tired corners without a need to fill. No grand or shining answer, no need to make it stay, only this soft brightness at the start of day. I've carried more than I noticed, through evenings and through plans, held steady for the moment again and again. So this brief and golden stillness feels closer than a voice, not pointing to a future, just leaving room for choice. Morning light on the table, soft enough to miss, still it finds its way back in mornings just like this. Nothing here is asking for more than I can give, just a quiet piece of living the way it is. Soon the day will open and call me as it does, but for now it's only morning, and that is enough. The kettle hums before the sun has fully found the room. A line of light across the floor arrives a little soon. The cup is set where it always is, no need to rearrange. Some mornings ask for nothing new, and somehow that feels strange. The first pour breaks the silence in a slow and steady way, like something small is speaking at the start of day. No rush in the motion, no weight in the air, just this quiet rhythm that meets me right here. First pour of a quiet day, rising soft and slow. Not a plan to follow, just a place to go. In the warmth between my hands, something starts to land. Not a full solution, just a way to things I'll have to carry before the night is through. Conversations waiting in the list I never do, but none of that is here yet. It hasn't taken shape. The morning holds a margin, a little room to stay. The steam becomes a curtain, then disappears again. Like all the passing moments I don't try to name. The quiet doesn't fix me, it doesn't need to try. It simply leaves a space where I can arrive. First pour of a quiet day, nothing pushed or pulled, not a perfect balance, just a little full. In the pause between the noise, something gently stays, not a grand beginning, just a softer way. I've learned to keep it moving, to hold and to prepare, to answer every question before it's even there. But something in this moment doesn't follow through. It lingers just a second and lets the morning bloom. First pour of a quiet day, still within my hands. Not a change of everything, just a shift I understand. It won't last forever, still it's enough to know. Even in the smallest start, there's a steadier flow. The cup is almost empty, the light is growing wide, and I step into the day with something on my side. Train doors close a little slow, like they forgot the time. Someone laughs across the way at something small and light. A message left unread, a song I almost knew. Nothing here is calling me, just passing through. The sky is barely changing, but somehow not the same. And in between the moments, something doesn't strain. It isn't loud or shining, it doesn't try to stay, but it finds a quiet opening in the middle of the day. Little joys in between, falling where they land. Not a thing to hold on to, still I understand. Slightly sweeter than I thought it would be. A breeze that moves the curtain, just enough to see. The list I didn't finish waits without a sound, and nothing in this moment is pulling me around. A face I pass each morning, we never say hello, still there's something steady. It isn't something planned, it never quite repeats, but it leaves a trace of calm in the spaces in between. Little joys in between, quiet as they come. Not a grand reminder, just a softer hum. They don't fix the distance, they don't clear the way, but they make the trying to get ahead, looking for a bigger kind of something else instead. Now they pass beside me and I let them be, not to keep or follow, just to gently see little joys in between, drifting in and out. Not a thing to measure, not a thing about. Still they leave a feeling I can't quite explain, like a quiet kind of sunlight after passing rain. And before I even notice, they've already gone. But something small is different, something soft goes on. I almost missed the morning, looking down instead, tracing all the places where my thoughts had led. But something caught the corner of my tired sight, a small and steady shimmer in the early light. It wasn't asking questions, didn't need a name, just resting in the moment exactly as it came. Not something I can carry in any certain way, still it stays beside me as I move into the day. A pocket full of light I didn't know I had, not enough to change it all, but enough to make it less. It follows in the quiet, it settles in the seams, a small and gentle brightness in between the things. The streets begin to open with their usual sound, a rhythm I remember pulling all around. There's still so much unfinished, still so much to do, but something in this morning feels a little new. Not louder, not clearer, not suddenly complete, just a softer kind of steady underneath my feet. It isn't something certain, it doesn't have to be, but it leaves a quiet space that feels enough for me. A pocket full of light I carry as I go, not a perfect answer, just a quieter flow. It doesn't stop the movement, it doesn't clear the way, still it makes the distance feel a little less to face. I used to chase the feeling of finally arriving somewhere past the noise where everything felt right. But now it comes in pieces, in moments I don't plan, a warmth I didn't notice until I let it land. A pocket full of light, not something I can keep, still it stays beside me in the steps I need. Not a grand direction, not a perfect sign, just a quiet kind of knowing I'll be alright in time. And maybe that's enough now, more than I can see. A small and steady brightness walking here with me. The day begins to gather shape in ways I recognize, The usual sounds, the same small weight behind my steady stride. A voice I almost follow says I should move ahead. But something in this morning speaks softer instead. Not everything is ready, not everything is clear. Still there's a quiet movement that brings me gently here. No signal in the distance, no map I need to read. Just something barely shifting underneath my feet. One soft step forward, nothing more than that. Not a leap or turning, not a new path. Just a little motion I can feel and trust, even in the smallest move. There's something enough. I've tried to hold it steady, to keep it all in line, to be a little stronger just one more time. But somewhere in the trying, I lost the way it feels to let the moment meet me before it turns unreal. And now it comes back quieter without a need to prove. A kind of quiet balance in simply letting move. No need to rush the timing, no need to understand. There's something in this small step that helps me where I stand. One soft step forward, carried as I go. Not a full direction, just a gentle flow. It doesn't solve the distance, it doesn't clear the way. Still it makes the next step easier to face. I thought it had to change me all at once somehow, but maybe it's this moment that's enough for now. A shift I barely notice, a breath I didn't plan, and suddenly I'm further than where I began. One soft step forward, nothing I can prove. Still it leaves a quiet trace in the way I move. Not a grand beginning, not a perfect view, just a softer kind of progress coming into view. And the day keeps unfolding like it always will. But something in my footing has grown a little still.
The chair across the table is slightly out of line, like someone left in a hurry or just in time. The light falls in a quiet way across the wooden grain. Nothing here is asking for anything to change. A cup sits where it's been before, still holding something warm. And in this steady silence, there's a different kind of form. No need to name the feeling, no need to make it clear. Some things don't need a reason to simply settle here. Warm table, calm heart, nothing pulled apart. Not a perfect picture, just a quiet start. In the middle of the morning, where nothing has to be, there's a kind of gentle space that lets it all just be. I've seen day can go before it even starts, how quickly it can gather around the heavier parts. That something in this moment doesn't follow through and lingers just a little in a softer point of view. The world will keep on moving like it always does. Still there's something steady in a pause like this one was. No need to push it forward, no need to hold it back. There's something in the stillness that keeps it on its track. Warm table, calm heart, nothing rearranged, not a new direction, just a softer frame. It doesn't try to fix it, it doesn't need to start. It simply stays a moment. Warm table, calm heart. I used to think the answer had to come out loud, something clear and certain standing out from the crowd. But now it comes in pieces, in places I don't plan. A quiet kind of balance I don't need to understand. Warm table, calm heart, nothing left behind, just a small reminder in an open kind of time. Not a grand solution, not a work of art, just a place to land. Warm table, calm heart, and the day will take its shape like it always will. But something in this moment stays a little still.
The room feels slightly different, though nothing's really changed. The same light on the same old wall, still quietly arranged. A trace of something lingers I didn't notice before. Not louder, not clearer, just softer than it was. My hands move through the morning like they remember how to hold a little space inside without needing it now. No shift I can point to, no reason I can name, just something in the quiet that isn't quite the same. Gentle joy softly found somewhere in between. Not a sudden feeling, not a perfect scene. It doesn't stay forever, it doesn't need to prove. Just a quiet kind of brightness in the way I move. The day begins around me with its familiar sound, but it doesn't pull as tightly or spin me all around. There's space between the moments that wasn't there before, a kind of open breathing I hadn't known to look for. I'm not a different person, nothing's rearranged, still something in the rhythm has quietly been changed. No words I need to carry, no thought I need to chase, just something gently settling into its own place. Gentle joy softly found, resting doesn't fix the distance, it doesn't clear the way, but it leaves a lighter feeling than I had yesterday. I thought it would be louder, something I would see, a clear and shining answer waiting there for me. But it came without a signal, no moment I could frame, just a shift so small and quiet I almost missed its name. Gentle joy, softly found, fading in and out. Not a grand conclusion, not a final route, still it leaves a trace of calm I didn't have before, like a door that isn't closed but doesn't need a door. And I walk into the day much the same as I've been, but something in the quiet stays softly within. The book is where I left it, half open, face down, like it's been waiting patiently, without a sound. The light moves down the margin, line by line. Nothing here is asking me to read it right. A sentence almost catches, then slips away again. And somehow in the losing there's no need to pretend. The thoughts don't have to settle, they don't have to stay. There's space between the pages that lets them drift away. Open pages, open mind, nothing too complete. Not a final answer, just a place to meet, where the lines don't hold me and the words don't bind. There's a quiet kind of freedom in an open mind. The world keeps moving somewhere just beyond the door, a rhythm I remember from a life before. But here it feels a little less defined, like I don't have to follow every single line. A thought becomes a question, then softens into air, and nothing needs to hold it or keep it anywhere. The meaning doesn't matter, it doesn't need to land. There's something in the leaving that lets me understand. Open pages, open mind, nothing pushed or pulled. Not a perfect picture, just a little full, where the space is wider than the need to know. There's a softer kind of thinking that can come and go. I used to chase the ending to find out what it meant, turn every quiet moment into something spent. But now it comes in fragments, in pieces I don't frame, and even in the missing there's nothing left to name. Open pages, open mind, drifting as it will. Not not a clear direction, still it's enough to feel. Nothing here to finish, nothing left behind, just a quiet kind of clarity in an open mind. The page will turn eventually, like it always does, but for now it stays exactly where it was. The streetlight fades without a sound, the sky is turning clear. A morning like the ones before still somehow lands right here. A shoe by the door slightly turned, a cup left where it stayed. Nothing in this ordinary needs to be remade. A passing face, a passing glance, we never speak a word. Still something in the moment feels quietly heard. It isn't something certain, it doesn't stay for long, but it finds a way to soften everything it's on. Small smiles, simple days, nothing rearranged, not a grand beginning. Still something changed in the middle of the usual, where nothing stands apart. There's a quiet kind of easing in a steady heart. The list is still unfinished, the hour's still the same. The world hasn't shifted, it's playing its own game, but something in the rhythm doesn't pull us tight. There's space between the moments, there's a little light. A breeze moves through the window, then slips away again, and somehow that's enough to settle where I am. It isn't something lasting, it doesn't need to be. Still it leaves a lighter trace that stays a while with me. Small smiles, simple days, nothing I can claim. Not a perfect answer, not a thing to name. Still it brings a balance I didn't have before, just a softer way of walking through an open door. I used to look for meaning in everything I saw, trying to make it matter a little more. But now it comes in pieces, I don't need to hold. A moment that is gentle is already whole. Small smiles, simple days falling into place. Not a sudden turning, just a slower pace. Nothing here is calling for more than I can give, just a quiet kind of living the way I live. And the day keeps moving forward like it always will, but something in the small things stays a little still. The light stands still at midday, no angle left to chase. It settles on the table in a quiet open space. The room is neither moving nor asking me to stay. It simply holds the moment in an unremarked way. A sound from somewhere distant, then nothing in its place. And in that gentle absence, there's something I can't trace. No rise, no fall, no turning, no need to understand. Just something softly resting exactly where I am. Quiet happiness at noon, nothing added on. Not a sudden feeling, just quietly strong. It doesn't ask for notice, it doesn't try to stay. Still it leaves a steady warmth that doesn't fade away. The hours aren't demanding, they're passing like they do. No urgency between them, no need to follow through. The air is slightly warmer, the shadows barely move, and everything around me has nothing left to prove. The thought comes without meaning, then fades without a sound, and nothing feels like missing, nothing feels unbound. No moment I can measure, no point I need to reach. Just something in the stillness that doesn't try to teach. Quiet happiness at noon, resting in the light. Not a full completion, still it feels just right. It doesn't change the future, it doesn't clear the way. Still it makes this simple hour enough to stay. I used to wait for something to mark the time as real, a sign that I was closer to something I could feel. But now it comes in quiet, in hours left alone, a kind of steady presence that feels almost like home. Quiet happiness at noon, softly passing through. Not a thing to hold on to, still it feels true. Nothing here is shining, nothing left to prove. Just a quiet kind of fullness that doesn't need to move. And the day will keep on turning like it always does. But something in this stillness stays with me because the door clicks softly behind me. The air feels slightly changed. The same street waits in front of me, still nothing rearranged. A car passes like it always does, a voice across the way. Everything is moving to its usual place, but something in the distance catches in my view. A light across the next street, breaking softly through. No reason I can follow, no meaning I can claim. Just something in the ordinary that doesn't feel the same. Light on the next street, falling where it goes. not a sign or answer. Still it lets me know that even in the usual where nothing seems to change, there's a small and quiet shift I don't need to explain. The rhythm pulls around me like it always will. The list, the calls, the motion, everything is real, but it doesn't feel as heavy as it did before. Like something in the middle is easier to hold. A step becomes a pattern, then softens as I move. And even in the noise, there's a little room. No need to slow the moment, no need to speed it through. There's something in the balance that lets me follow through. Light on the next street, shifting as I go. Not a full direction, just a gentle flow. It doesn't clear the distance, it doesn't draw a line. Still it makes the moving feel a little more like mine. I thought it had to change me before I could begin. Somewhere far beyond this, somewhere I could win. But now it meets me here in steps I recognize. A quiet kind of movement under open skies. Light on the next street, staying in my sight. Not a lasting promise, still it feels like light. Nothing here is different, nothing left behind. Just a softer way of walking through the same old time. And the day keeps moving forward like it always knew. But something in the distance feels a little new.
The light begins to soften, not quite evening yet. The day is still unfolding, but something feels offset. The noise doesn't disappear, it settles into place. A quieter kind of distance between each passing phase. The steps are just a little slower than they were before. Nothing here is stopping still, it's harder to ignore. No need to call it something, no need to understand. Somehow we simply drift like this, just slightly out of hand. In the quiet dip of the day, where nothing feels quite clear. Not a fall, not a failure, just a moment here. It doesn't ask for fixing, it doesn't ask for more. Just a softer kind of slowing than the hours before. The sky leans into evening, but hasn't turned its shade. The lines begin to loosen in everything we made. A thought doesn't fully land, it lingers then it's gone. And something in that passing feels easier to hold on. The world keeps moving forward like it always will. Still there's something steady in the space between the pool. No need to push against it, no need to hold it tight. Something says without a fight. In the quiet dip of the day, nothing left to prove, not a clear direction, just a slower move. It doesn't clear the distance, it doesn't light the way, still it holds a kind of calm that wasn't there today. I used to try to fill it, this space I couldn't name, turn every empty moment into something I could claim. But now it comes and passes without any need to stay, and something in that leaving feels easier this way. In the quiet dip of the day, softly passing through, not a thing to carry, still it stays with you. Nothing here is broken, nothing gone astray, just a quiet kind of fading at the edge of day. And the evening will arrive like it always does, but something in this in-between is enough because
the light is turning quieter along the edge of day. The noise is still around me, but it's further than it was. The room feels like it's waiting without a single word, not asking for an answer, not needing to be heard. A breath I didn't notice comes back a little slow, and something in the stillness feels easier to hold. No sudden change or turning, no line I have to cross, just something gently giving back what I had lost. A soft place to land, nothing held too tight, not a full recovery, just a little light. It doesn't take the weight away, it doesn't need to try, still it makes the moment easier to arrive. The day is still unfinished, there's more I'll have to do, but it doesn't feel as distant as it sometimes used to. The thoughts come back in pieces, but softer than before, like they don't need to carry everything they wore. A quiet kind of balance begins to take its place, not something I can measure, still I feel the space. No need to name the feeling, no need to understand. There's something in the slowing that helps me where I stand. A soft place to land, waiting where I am. Not a perfect answer, just a steadier hand. It doesn't change the ending, it doesn't clear the way, still it leaves a little strength to carry through the day. I used to think I needed to leave it all behind, to find a different version somewhere I could find. But now it comes in moments I don't have to chase, a quiet kind of returning to a gentler place. A soft place to land, nothing left to prove, not a grand direction, just a softer move. Even in the middle of everything that stands, there's a quiet kind of safety in a place I understand. And the evening keeps on coming, like it always will. But something in the landing stays a little still. The kettle sings a little, then settles into steam. A sound I've heard 100 times, still softer than it seems. The cup fits in my hand again, like nothing ever moved. The same small kind of comfort I didn't know I'd choose. The window's open slightly, the air is passing through. Nothing here is different, still everything feels new. It isn't something changing, it isn't something planned, just something in the quiet that meets me where I am. A small cup of comfort resting in my hands, not a cure or answer, just the way it lands. It doesn't make it perfect, it doesn't clear the way, still it leaves a softer feeling than earlier today. The day is still around me, there's more I'll need to do, but something in the middle feels easier to move. The thoughts don't press as tightly, they come and then they go, like I don't need to follow, everywhere they flow. A quiet kind of balance sits gently in the space, not something I can hold to, still it stays in place. No need to make it larger, no need to hold it near. Some things feel enough, just simply being here. A small cup of comfort, simple as it seems, not a grand solution, still it shifts between the edges of the moment where tension used to stay, and leaves a little breathing room at the end of day. I used to think the feeling had to last somehow, to mean that something changed in me more than just right now. But maybe it's the moment that matters as it is, a warmth that comes and passes and still feels like it fits. A small cup of comfort, nothing left to prove, not a bigger picture, just a gentler move. Even in the ordinary, where everything remains, there's a quiet kind of easing running through my veins. And the evening keeps on coming, like it always will, but something in this small thing stays a little still. Hasn't fully opened, but it's lighter than before. A quiet kind of morning, just beyond the door. The air feels slightly different, though nothing really changed. The same road lies ahead of me, but gently rearranged. A step I didn't notice becomes a steady pace, and something in the movement finds a softer place. No need to call it something, no need to make it last. Just something in the turning that isn't like the past. A brighter way to begin, nothing pushed or pulled, not a sudden answer, still quietly full. It doesn't promise more than what I feel right now, but something in the starting feels lighter somehow. The world is still the same one, with everything it brings, the plans, the calls, the timing, and all the in-between. But it doesn't sit as heavy as it used to do, like something in the middle has quietly come through. Thoughts don't press as tightly, they move and then release. And somewhere in the motion, there's a little ease. No need to see it clearly, no need to understand. There's something in the movement that meets me where I am. A brighter way to begin, carried as I go. Not a perfect rhythm, just a gentler flow. It doesn't change the distance, it doesn't clear the way. Still it makes the moment easier to be in. I thought I had to find it somewhere far ahead, a place where everything would finally make sense. But now it comes in pieces, in steps I didn't plan. A quiet kind of opening I don't have to understand. A brighter way to begin, nothing left to prove. Not a bigger picture, just a softer move. Even in the ordinary, where everything remains, there's a quiet kind of motion running through my veins. And the day keeps moving gently, like it always will. But something in the starting feels quietly still.
The light begins to soften at the edges of the sky. The day is still around me, but it's passing by. A sound from down the street, then it fades again. Nothing here is holding on, nothing needs to end. The air feels a little easier than it did before, like something I was carrying isn't there anymore. No line I need to follow, no place I need to be, just something in the slowing down that lets it come to me. Easy as the evening comes, nothing left to chase. Not a perfect ending, just a quieter place. It doesn't take it all away, it doesn't need to try. Still it leaves a softer feeling as the hours pass by. sky turns into colors that don't need a name. The world keeps moving forward, but not in quite the same way. The steps feel a little lighter, the pace a little slow, and everything around me has room to come and go. A moment comes and passes without a need to stay, and something in that leaving feels easier this way. No need to hold the daylight, no need to make it last. There's something in the fading that settles as it passes. Easy as the evening comes, falling into place. Not a final answer, just a softer space. It doesn't change the story, it doesn't clear the way. Still it makes the ending a little easier to face. I used to wait for something to mark the end as right, a feeling I could carry into the night. But now it comes in quiet, without a need to prove, a kind of gentle closing in the way I move. Easy as the evening comes, nothing more to say. Not a grand conclusion, just the end of day. Even in the fading light, where everything slows down, there's a quiet kind of comfort in what I've found. And the night will come in softly, like it always does. But something in this evening feels enough somehow. The light has left the window without a sound or sign. The shapes are turning softer at the edges of my mind. The street is still in motion, but further than before, like everything is drifting just outside the door. A sound becomes a memory before it settles in, and something in the distance feels quieter within. No moment I can follow, no point I need to find, just something slowly settling in the space behind. Where the day falls quiet, nothing left to hold, not a full completion, just a letting go. It doesn't need a reason, it doesn't need a name, still it leaves a gentle calm that quietly remains. The hours lose their meaning, they soften as they pass. No edges left to measure, no future, no past. The room is simply breathing in ways I can't explain, and something in the stillness feels easier again. A thought begins to fade out before it fully forms, and nothing feels missing, nothing feels worn down. No need to hold the daylight, no need to make it stay. There's something in the fading that carries it away. Where the day falls quiet, resting where it ends, not a final answer. Still it slowly turns into something softer than anything before. A quiet kind of closing that doesn't ask for more. I used to wait for endings to feel complete somehow. A line that I could stand behind and say it's over now. But now it comes in silence, without a need to prove. A kind of quiet closing in the way I move, where the day falls quiet, nothing left to say. Not a grand conclusion, just the end of day. Even in the stillness where everything slows down, there's a quiet kind of peace in what I've found. And the night will hold it gently, like it always does. But something in the quiet feels enough somehow.
The room is dim but open. The air is soft and still. The day is moved behind me, but lingers where it will. A sound I can't quite follow, then nothing in its place. And something in the silence feels easy to embrace. The light is faded slowly, without a need to stay. And everything around me has gently slipped away. No need to close the moment, no need to draw a line. There's something in the fading that lets it stay with me. Still here in the soft light, nothing has to end. Not a firm conclusion, just the way things bend. It doesn't ask for meaning, it doesn't ask for more. Still it leaves a gentle warmth I didn't feel before. Thoughts come back in fragments and fade before they land, like they don't need to carry everything at once. The world is still around me, but softer than before. Like I don't have to follow every open door. A moment turns to nothing, then settles into space. And something in that stillness feels easier to face. No need to move the feeling, no need to make it stay. There's something in that fading that doesn't drift away. Still here in the soft light, resting in the night. Not a final ending, still it feels right. It doesn't stop the turning, it doesn't clear the way. Still it holds a softer sense at the end of the day. But I would need to let everything go to find the kind of silence I could finally know. But now it comes in pieces that don't need to align. A quiet kind of presence that already feels like mine. Still here in the soft light, nothing left to prove. Not a final answer, just a softer mood. Even in the fading, where everything grows light, there's a gentle kind of staying that carries through the night. And the night will hold it softly like it always does. Could something in this moment feel enough somehow? The day is closing softly, without a final line. No moment left to measure, no reason left to find. The things I didn't finish, the words I couldn't say, they settle in the distance and slowly fade away. The weight I didn't notice is lighter in my hands, like something in the letting go was somehow part of the plan. No need to hold it closer, no need to make it stay. Some things feel much easier when they fall away. Nothing more to carry, nothing left to prove. Not a perfect ending, just a softer move. It doesn't fix the story, it doesn't change the day. Still it leaves a quiet space to let it drift away. The thoughts come back in echoes, then loosen as they go, like they don't need an answer to something I don't know. The world is still around me, but further than before, like I don't have to follow every open door. A moment turns to silence, then settles into space, and something in that stillness feels easier to face. No need to make it matter, no need to understand. There's something in the leaving that softens where I stand. Nothing more to carry, resting where I am. Not a full conclusion, still it settles somehow. It doesn't clear the distance, it doesn't light the way. Still it leaves a quiet sense at the end of the day. I thought I had to hold it, to keep it all in place. Every small unfinished thing, every silent space. But now it moves without me, without a need to stay. And something in that freedom feels easier this way. Nothing more to carry, nothing left to prove. Not a bigger meaning, just a gentler move. Even in the ending, where everything feels light, there's a quiet kind of release that settles in tonight. And tomorrow But something in this moment feels enough somehow. The night has settled slowly without a need to stay. The shapes have all softened at the end of day. The things I couldn't finish don't follow me inside. They rest somewhere behind me with nothing left to hide. The air feels slightly clearer, though nothing really changed. And something in the silence has quietly rearranged. No need to hold the moment, no need to make it last. There's something in the ending that isn't like the past. Tomorrow, softly again, nothing forced or planned. Not a brand new beginning, still something settles in. It doesn't need a promise, it doesn't need to stay still. It leaves a gentle feeling I can carry through the day. The world will still be waiting with everything it brings. The same unfinished questions and all the in-between. But it doesn't feel as heavy as it used to do. Like something in the middle has quietly come through. The thoughts don't crowd as tightly, they move and then release. And somewhere in the turning, there's a little ease. No need to see it clearly, no need to understand. There's something in the quiet that helps me where I stand. Tomorrow, softly again, carried as I go. Not a perfect answer, just a gentler flow. It doesn't change the distance, it doesn't clear the way. Still it makes the morning easier to face. I thought I had to find it somewhere far ahead, a place where everything would finally make sense. But now it comes in moments I don't have to chase. A quiet kind of forward in a softer pace. Tomorrow, softly again, nothing left to prove. Not a bigger meaning, just a kinder move. Even in the ordinary, where everything remains, there's a quiet kind of forward that carries through the days.